go.
Well, we don't need like an intro anymore.
Yeah.
I've learned, like, see, when we would do intros before, like, I'm really, really bad at them. Like, I mean, exceptionally bad. I'm just making sure that the camera's on. We are. Okay, good. This is a good start. My head has not been cut off this time. We've arranged the camera properly. Apologies about that in the last episode. These mistakes happen, though, don't they? So, and it's not the only blunder that we've had in our 37 episodes we've done now.
When's our year?
June.
We're not far away.
No, not far away. It's went really fast,
away.
isn't it? Should we have
We done Jeremy Kyle.
We done Jeremy Kyle, which wasn't the original plan. There was
I think we might have to. Do we revisit Jeremy?
Do we? That could be an idea, you know.
Do we prod the bear a little bit more?
Yeah. Do we ask him to come on again?
Come on, Jeremy. Challenging you, Mo.
You've only got a couple months left.
Time's running out.
Yeah.
The NEC's coming for you.
So we've been doing this for like 8-9 months now, which has gone by extremely quickly. Like, I was having a look at the first 2 episodes that we did, like maybe a couple nights ago, and it's just weird. Like, I don't even recognize those people that started. You know, when we had like all the notes and we're like, what do we do? How do we make sure this goes long enough now and stuff? And now, if anything, we're going too long.
Yeah, I guess to the point we're trying to like speed up moments. We're like, right, we're on this point for like 50
oh
minutes.
Oh my God,
right now.
we've done this for 4 hours.
Like, I think we need to cut some stuff.
Yeah, and then
John, stop talking nonsense. Okay,
stop saying that America's not its own country.
That's a fair comment.
But I was just thinking, like, when we were sat up at the bar and we did the Jeremy Kyle one, and even the episode that shall not be aired. When we did that, like, I just remember sweating absolute fucking buckets.
Well, yeah, I was the same. I mean, nowadays I come on, I don't even need to put my roll on.
Yeah.
I'm just that chill, bruh.
Like, we don't even notice the cameras or anything. I'm not trying to big ourselves up or anything, but it's just weird how you kind of build a tolerance level to it.
I love my camera. My camera's my best friend now.
It cut my hairline off the other day.
Cheeky bugger. No. I'm quite safe.
But
my camera.
How's things in life? So well, it's been a while since we've done one. Just me
like
and you.
Yeah.
How it all started. How it all began.
Well, I mean, I went through a few changes, haven't I, recently? I was working away at my previous job at the school, and I wasn't happy there. I was not enjoying life whatsoever. A lot of things kind of just went skew with there. I miss the people greatly, but yeah. So, needless to say, I got a new job, is what I should have led with then, is I got a new job. So I'm now an assistant manager in a Scott vaping shop in Elgin. It's just so much better. Like, my mental health already feels better. My routine already feels better. You know, occasional working 9 to 5. Yeah, you know, it's like, it's quite nice. It is quite nice hours. I mean, I'm working mostly 9 till 6, but I get the occasional 9 till 5, and it's boss.
Dolly Parton starts going off in your head.
I just start skipping down Elgin High Street.
Cutting shapes down Elgin High Street. Getting home at 5.
That's it. Everyone's like, you're having a real good day. I'm like, damn right I am.
Can we talk a little bit about developments in an unofficial capacity?
So we've I approached obviously the my new boss, the owners, the actual owners of Scott Vapes, and I asked them if they would essentially like to be an unofficial sponsor as such. And I said, as long as we do little shout outs, things like that, and they were like, yeah, great. We have a few other things are in the pipeline
in due course, though.
Yes, we're not even going to whisper about them yet, because we can't guarantee it.
Can we tell them that they offered us £200 million to continue doing this?
In Bitcoin. Coming for you, Elon Musk.
The next episode's going to be done in a mansion. It's important to say this. We love the garage, but you know.
No, basically, we've been given some free merch. I've got a lovely little vape hat on. We've got Ryan with his own little home brand Scott Vapes
It's probably
beanie.
a bit too small to see in the camera there, but there is a vape logo.
Scott
Vapes logo, to be precise. I've just came out of the shower, so I don't want to do the hair roll up and that. We're coming to you with an official, well, not official, unofficial sponsor video at some point.
So it's just nice, you know. We do have some stickers. I was trying to find them in my bag.
And we're also potentially unofficial capacity going to have some perks for people that may want to indulge in maybe quitting smoking, or if they're already on the vape or whatnot. So yeah, all that to come. But we'll keep people in suspense.
We'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted.
So we'll have a little talk about how things are. I mean, you were just saying about how the change of job and that's obviously really benefited your kind of well-being and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely.
In the last days of a temp contract, I won't go into it too much because I know the social media policy is a bit tight. So don't want to get myself in any bother there.
Kickstart thing, is it?
No. It's just that what it was basically is that it was just like a 6-month contract. I think they were doing a bunch of stuff like that during all the kind of in-out restrictions stuff.
Yeah.
So, finished there in a couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to finishing. Not like I hate the position or anything like that. I enjoy what I do, and the people I'm around and that are all very genuine. And that it's just there's just that kind of thing in the back of my mind of like, we've now got this. I really, really want to push this as far as we can. Not like we're in the sense of like, oh, please give us followers and that.
Yeah.
But, the last few months, especially since we've came back from the Christmas break, have been pretty difficult in the sense of we've literally done one of these every week. There was a little kind of hiccup at the start of the year just because, I had COVID, just...
I had 5 family members in hospital,
and
out of hospital.
So, like, sometimes time gets in the way, but we try to, an average, to keep it, like, one a week, try and keep it consistent in that.
For you?
Yes. A lot of effort has went into making these over the last 6 months, but it would be on, like... So, I'm, like, off at the weekend, so this was generally when we would do these. So, we would record, then it would be straight from here for me, anyway, to get it onto the laptop, get it into editing software, and then because I'd started using the multicam feature of I had to watch the whole thing through. So like to make the cuts, so there's 2 buttons, 1 and 2, camera 1 and 2. I can speed it up a little bit, but you don't want it to go too fast because like it's like, oh damn it, I missed a cut.
I think I missed it.
Yeah, so I think I was editing it like times 1.5. But if you think of some of the episodes we've done, like the UFO one, obviously the Iraq War one was a couple hours the other day as well.
I am actually considering for our 1-year one, we do another UFO one, actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed the UFO.
We should get all 4 of us that have kind of been on multiple times. So me, you, Chap with a Hat, who is coming. He's not been sacked or anything like this. He's just been pretty busy with schedule working and that. But
I believe he's also he's going back to Silver.
Yes, but he will have 4 weeks off in that time, so he will be making an appearance back.
Chap with a Hat is not gone.
Back in studio. We're all chaps with a hats now, right? If we end up having to rep the merch and all that.
I'm just wearing that chap's hat.
yeah. But so he's going to be back soon. We should get... Well, we were meaning to do Seshcast. It was meant to be me, you, Chap with a Hat, Jamie, because Jamie's... it's funny how this is played out, because originally it was me and Chap with a Hat that were talking... Paul. I don't want to just label him Chap with a Hat.
Yeah. He has a name.
We're talking about doing this, and, I was always like... I was always hesitant about making another attempt at something like this, because before people were like, oh yeah, I'd be right up for it, and then I'd be like, okay, what about one every 2 weeks? And then that just didn't happen, and it's never going to work, and I didn't have the right equipment for it, whereas we came more prepared this time. And then you kind of came on board because I think it's fair to say that me and you became quite a bit closer through the process of doing this.
Definitely.
Because it's not like we were arch enemies or something.
No. We knew each other. We knew
each other, but it was more like we had like mutual friends that we would see each other's at. Used to work with my mum in one of the local shops and stuff like that. But now it's like, especially when we talk about like our lives as well,
our friendship has blossomed.
It has, yeah. It's grown, and it's all been on camera. I feel like we've kind of sold out. We're doing like a Channel 5 reality TV show, But
if we ever get interviewed, Dad said they're going to make us watch every episode and be like, "Look, see how your relationship grows.
Look at you talking about Jeremy Kyle with such passion." But
oh me.
I never really kind of took it serious to begin with, and then when a lockdown 2 Electric Boogaloo hit, I was like applying for every position that was possible. Obviously, there wasn't too much in the sense of everything was shut again.
Yeah,
I was even applying for voluntary work, and people weren't like getting back to me. And then I was like, "Fuck it, let's just start doing this." And then London buses, right? You wait for 1 and 2 come at once. So I started this, and then The contract that I'm on now was offered. But I was like, no, I've committed to this now. I want to keep it going. I'm very happy that we did. You know, if you'd said to me the first episode, do I think that we'd like kind of evolved into what we're doing now in terms of we don't have any notes basically, like we're just free flowing it. We've got multiple cameras rather than having one camera and sitting behind the bar and the little teeny weeny alien mic stand things. We've got a bit more adequate equipment for the scenario, and that I would have kind of been pretty. No, I don't want to say blown away because, you know, I think it's achievable, but it was just, you never know where things like that can go when you start off doing them, do you?
Well, you are right. I mean, thinking about where we came from, like you say, the shot from where it's just us behind the bar and we've got the one camera squeezing us both into the same frame, and now we have a 2-camera system. We have mic arms. We've got other tables. We're utilising the space better.
We've got a heater.
Yeah, I know.
Which was something you demanded in your contract to continue on at the northeast corner. But we are now coming into kind of springtime. Like halfway through February. So March and April are vastly approaching. So the heater will probably be making a hiatus for a couple months.
31st of April, I'll agree with.
Yes. And it can come back into circulation the 1st of October.
1st of September.
It's on a seasonal contract, basically. But, you know, the overall kind of theme that we wanted to talk about today really was mental health, right? And that can be right now, previously, future, and all that type of stuff. So I don't know how we're going to kind of segue into it. So I guess we're just going to have to play it by ear.
We go nitty and gritty.
Well, you know, like, I think, if you know, we're comfortable with both saying this, we've both had some pretty extreme turns for the worse. Yeah. Obviously, like, I don't know if we want to go into that on today's episode or maybe further down the line or not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, like, no pressure, but like, I suppose it's something that is now became such a talked about thing, right? And I know that it was talked about in that before all the stuff that's happened the last 2 years has happened, but it definitely feels like it's accelerated talk of that. And more people are becoming conscious of it now because a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have considered themselves to have had struggles in that area have kind of been forced into a situation where they have, in the sense of a lot of the stuff that they're used to doing in life has been taken away. Yeah, taken away for certain periods of time in that. So, well, I guess we'll start of when we kind of first noticed that it was, I don't want to say it was something that we were holding us back, but like struggling with. That, you know, where you could tell that it was
there was something just not quite right.
Yeah, your own mind was kind of getting the better of you. Do you know what I mean?
So mine would have been not long after I came back from Cyprus. My mum had tried to get me checked out by doctors when I was a little bit younger because she thought I might have been a wee bit depressed in Cyprus, but it was sunseeing sex over there. It was very hard to be depressed. It was very, very hard to be depressed over there. I was not depressed over there. So it was definitely, it was more when I was actually classed as an adult that I started actually struggling with mental health.
Even definite. Like you say that it was a good environment over in Cyprus and that there's a lot of things to do. The weather's nice. Do you ever think that like too much of
it was because when I left there, that definitely caused me depression because I had things I could never. I can't wake up in where we are in Lossy, the northeast corner. I cannot wake up here, come round, grab you at 7 o'clock in the morning, go down the cliffs and jump in a warm bath. We can't do that. No. In Cyprus, you'd be out by 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, there's no such thing as sleeping in
all like the kind of vitamins you get as well from the sun, vitamin D and all that. I know you get supplements up here, but it's not the same kind of.
It sounds really rotten saying all this, but we could have been the cast from The Hills Have Eyes, you know. We ran around those cliffs like, it was insane. Some of the things that we would do. Nowadays, when I think of it, we would scale cliffs at points where they came out, you know, so you were gripping and like you can feel gravity trying to pull you out and you're looking and you're like, that's just rocks. I don't know what happens. It's either adrenaline or you just fear and it's just, but you would grip on for, and we used to make it up and around crazy things all the time. And I used to look at it and I'd be like, I don't know how. Are you doing it again? Not a chance. I've done it once was enough.
I think that like there's a thing where if you have like a really good experience, it's like so good, and then you come out of that, you can get depressed from that. Yeah, you can. And I think that is almost an unhealthy thing to have though, and I was looking it up. So for example, me and my friend Lee spoke to Kevin McAloon on here a few months ago, right? And I was really looking forward to it because it was, you know, like jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts and that's something I like to keep up with as a sport. So I was like really happy that we were getting someone like badass from the local area coming on to talk to us and stuff like that. And it went really well and everything. It's still one of my favorite episodes to have recorded to this day. Yeah. But I remember like 3 days, the days after that, being like so down and so depressed, and I couldn't understand it. It's
because you had like every emotion going off. That was amazing.
It was. I looked it up, right. I was like, why am I feeling sad after something really good's happened? Do you know what I mean? And it was talking about you rely on not circumstance, like situations to make you feel happy, and there's like the kind of key to maintained happiness is being fully happy with who you are as yourself. And that like made a lot of sense at the time, because I'm someone that's always struggled to see myself in a good light, and that's definitely hindered me in some aspects of my life.
I understand that. For me, you know, when people always say on your CV or in an interview, you've got to sell yourself.
Sell yourself. I hate that, man.
And I'm like, in my eyes, it's like I'm the most difficult person to sell. Like, I don't get it. Like, everyone can say really nice things, and it's like I look at them like, shut up.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's like, who you speaking to? Okay, like looking around. It's obviously near me, but no, like I get that. It's always hard to like, see yourself in the light where you can be happy. I understand that for definite. I always struggle with that, always. But nowadays, I think I'm a bit more. Oh well.
Yeah, just not as like hard on yourself.
Yeah, I'm not as hard on myself. At the end of the day, I'm enjoying my life a lot more. I do notice the busier you seem to keep yourself, the less time you have to think. Like that.
Yeah. No, and that's one thing that's great that's came with this, because if I'm not doing something else, I'm either arranging a guest or editing an episode or uploading something or figuring out when there's a date next for the next one and keeping it rolling. And then there's stuff that I've got going on with the documentary, which I'm going to go kind of full speed into in March, obviously with Sean being back in that now, who I'm also going to message soon about coming on. We're talking about the climate change episode, and obviously he did a documentary on it, so that makes sense.
We've been wanting to get that episode done for a while, actually. Yeah.
And then Omicron hit, and but you know, we haven't. I've spoken to Sean in here. You have met Sean because we did the recording for the intro that you see every episode, and that he made that for us. Yeah. So we had a good bit, because you know, we thought it was gonna be like 10 minutes. We'd be done that, and it'd be like an hour and a half. So like it was like a good conversation in that we had, right? So we're thinking it'd be even like better when we ended up doing an episode on the topic, obviously, because he did do a documentary and he knows a lot about it from meeting the various experts and stuff that he did whilst covering it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, when you have this kind of, it's almost like a defeatist mindset, sometimes I call it, and it's something that, like, when, just going back to the Kev episode briefly, he was talking about he used to have a really unhealthy relationship with failure, and that was something that I, like, really related to, and probably still could relate to now. Like, I've not turned that. What
do you mean, though? If you don't mind explain.
Kev was, like, saying that if something didn't go his way, his kind of first inclination was to like abandon it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So like, if you know, maybe something doesn't go right the first time, you know, you just,
that's it.
Yeah. And I related to that like a lot, and probably still do. Like, there's times where I still have to kind of catch myself now. Like, I know I've learned to like.
You've just caught the nail on the head. You've actually said it just there, though, haven't you? You catch yourself.
Yeah.
So like you know that's one thing that a lot of us seem to overlook. Do you know how difficult that is for some people to do?
Yeah.
Some people just can't, can they?
Because you know
I struggle. I really struggle trying to catch myself. When I do, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So
that
like,
was close.
Whoa.
But like I was editing the. It'll be out by the time that this is out. So the Rachel Routledge episode, she broke the world record for tire flips, a 20-stone tire, 221 times in an hour, which is absolutely savage.
That's wild.
Yeah, so crazy. But very nice person, and had a great conversation with her yesterday. But like I was talking to you before we came on, like the camera had, like I hadn't put it up enough, so you can still see my face and see me talking in that. It's just like the top of the head is a bit out of picture now again. But I was noticing this, and I was like, really, like I was like, oh, you absolute spud! Like, how have you done this? Like, you're like I've done it so perfectly throughout, and I've put so much time into it. I want it to be good, presented good. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you want it to be well presented.
Yeah, just because I put a lot of time into it and stuff.
Exactly.
And,
it is a lot of work. I obviously don't see all of that, but I do understand how much work goes in. Like, you know, I understand you've got to upload, you've got to make sure you assign audios, you've got to make sure it's all in sync.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can imagine it's not fun. It's not fun. And it is a lot of waiting about and a lot of, well, relying on your internet and
yeah.
You know what I mean? I've just got to say this just because I seen it on a meme the other day with Ant and Dec. It's like, yeah, force Britain, if everyone should get a smart meter, and then we'll raise the price of electricity by a fiver.
The Suda Boris putting everything up. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, God, we might not even have money for the heater next year. Well, this year, but
I know.
Yeah, but I just caught myself there and was like, look, this shit happens. Everyone makes mistakes. Do you know what I mean? No matter how good they get at things, like, you know, we still make blunders speaking.
Yeah.
Like, if you've seen that bloody St. Andrew's Day episode, like, oh my God, that was absolute mayhem.
You didn't pick very good paragraphs for yourself to
No,
read,
I really didn't. But, we live and we learn. But you've also had Ellen DeGenerate. There was a few other ones.
I've done some absolute blinders.
Yeah, but it's good though. I think that's some of the best stuff funny. That comes from it, when it's just totally like. But the best thing about the Ellen DeGenerate one is you said it with such confidence.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, is he doing that on purpose or like? And then I just had to like call you out when it was just like degenerate, and you were like, no, right? I was like,
well, what's her name?
But it's appropriate, right? Because the way she ended up behaving, kind of.
She was a degenerate.
Yeah.
Shocking behavior.
Allegedly, but
allegedly.
But yeah, just like moments like that, I'm like, look, there's no point of absolutely beating yourself up about it, because panic and not rage, but, you know, frustration, it's just going to cause more mistakes and more kind of, you know, it's just a downward spiral if you keep yourself. And I was like, look, that's happened. It was still a great episode. The conversation's really good. I'm really proud of it. And then, you know, we'll keep going. And, you know, I suppose that's some of the first time that I've been able to do that with myself, whereas, like, other things I'd maybe be like, oh, you know, I think we all kind of have vulnerability thresholds. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in the sense of you don't want to be embarrassed, do you?
No one likes being embarrassed.
Like, one of that was probably like my biggest you know, fear of school was being embarrassed. I got embarrassed a lot at school, and then leaving that to then going into like my own kind of voluntary self-isolation for a couple of years and not speaking to my friends and that, and seeing how that kind of made me even worse. I mean, I was out of the environment that I thought was making me unhappy, but I was making myself more unhappy because the good parts of that environment hadn't came with me, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that.
So I think that's, I know we end up talking about the bloody pandemic on every episode, but that's why when all this stuff started with the stay-at-home orders and you can't see anyone in that, the thing that worried me the most was how long is this going to last? Because I didn't want to become like institutionalized back in that way of living, you know?
It's scary, but I understand what you mean, because no one knew how long they were going to keep that up for. I mean, they knew they couldn't do it for too much longer, otherwise the whole like commercial and financial side of everything would just crash. I mean, the education system was about to crash if they ended up messing around with that any more than what they did. You know, everything was on the brink of just like packing in. So, I mean, the government had to I think the government just had to realise that they can play on our mental health to a certain extent, but they can only play on it so far. But as soon as money starts getting affected, they're like, go out.
Yeah, eat out to help. Go.
Yeah, just things like that start coming in, don't they? And it's a shame. I do wish they looked at us more as actual people rather than numbers on a sheet.
And I think you're kind of touching on what I'm kind of focusing this whole documentary on, in the sense of, you know, I can't believe that I'm actually going to say this, because see, when I got diagnosed with this, I never ever thought that I'd be like admitting to it in front of like someone that was recording me and putting it up for like people to see and stuff, because I was that ashamed of it. And I know like ashamed seems like a bad word to use for it, but so I'm like on the autistic spectrum, right? I was diagnosed at 15 with Asperger's syndrome. I know that doesn't exist anymore because there was some controversy behind the guy that ended up, so it's like high functioning autism now, but you know what I mean by it. So, you know, I've always struggled really socially, like real bad. And even though that we do this, I still do. Like when I go to meet someone new, the anxiety is all real. Do you know what I mean?
Well, when we watched this both on that Chris Grant episode, I was like,
yeah.
I was trying to like control my breathing halfway
I think
through,
I was
like,
okay
oh
on that one, but
God.
I think it was just because you were so anxious that I was like, you know, like, I'm not the most.
I was like sat there vibrating out the studio.
But see, it ended up okay though. Do you know what I mean?
It did, yeah. And surprisingly, like, for me, I'm on about me though. I was looking at me like, oh my God, you can't hear me. Be like,
yeah.
Sound like I was having like a Apache helicopter coming out my gob. It was well bad.
But you know, just it's done a lot for my self-esteem. This, not like one thing that I've noticed from the pandemic is I used to be quite a pub goer, for better or worse, I suppose. In some instances, like I used to drink pretty heavily, and hence what led to me being the Jabba the Hutt stunt double, and then managing to kind of rein that in and get better and all that kind of stuff, and not being as overweight and not being morbidly obese anymore, and that I used to go to the pub a lot. And one thing that I realized is that I was drinking so much because I couldn't handle social pressures. So as soon as I was there, it was so like intense. There were so many people, even if they're not like interacting with you, you have to be aware of your peripherals and that, just the way that I think anyway. And then like just getting absolutely shit-faced as quick as possible. Really stop helps. That. It relieved all that. But I knew that that was such an unhealthy thing.
I 100% agree with everything you've just said there, because I am really bad for it. Like with my so because I'm not on the spectrum, but I am. I'm OCD on like definitely on a few kind of things, on the way I work, but it's not on everything. I've managed to like reel it in. I used to be bad for like touching posts and like anything like a post or just tap, or like a lamp post or a rail. I just have to like, I don't know why, I just had to touch it. But now I'm not that bad. But now it's like the way I structure things, or if I'm struggling to get a point across and like I get cut off, I'm like, because I'm like, no, I need to get it out. Some people get a little bit intimidated by it, but it's because, you know, when you work out your own triggers, and like the only way to work through it is to just get it out, and like some people can be really intimidated by that, and I understand that, but it's wrong. I find it wrong when they kind of like, oh, there's no need to be like that. Well, actually, maybe there's no need for you to be so like you don't understand, essentially. Maybe you should take a bit more time to understand, and then you'll understand the situation I'm in, and then you won't be like feeling offended, because it's never aimed at anyone. It's just, it's an internal thing. But you can never really explain that to someone who's new, because it happens all the time. Like if I'm at the pub and someone's like, oh, hello, mate. Sometimes I look and I'm like proper wide-eyed, and I'm all like fast, because I'm like, I don't know you like at all. Like, and what's gonna happen? My face is full on like, who the hell are you? And they're like, whoa, what's your problem? And it's like, I ain't got a problem. Why? And I'm already alert, you know? It's just what it does to you. And you're like, boom. So, I mean, like OCD, anxiety, and depression, it's a bit of a nasty mix. My depression is nowadays a bit more under control. But I dare say I bullied myself into kind of like, this sounds so strange. I bullied myself into believing it was all like my trail of thought, like it was all just my own state of mind, and I was in actual full control on how to kind of sort this. So I basically just told myself, stop thinking like that, and basically I know what happened. I just got busier. I started speaking to more people. I started kind of like, baby steps for me was party chat on Xbox. Because you don't have to see these people. There's still like a social aspect to it, but it takes a few factors the way of like, it doesn't make you feel so tense about it. And it was just like chatting with a few people, and then obviously kind of like getting to the point where I'm playing with people in the town, and then all of a sudden like these people I know I end up working with, and then all of a sudden like my little walls I would put up for like social anxiety were just totally knocked down, because it got to the point where I know pretty much everyone. You know what I mean? So I'm at that point, especially in Lossy, I can just walk around, and nowadays I can be totally fine. In the pub, it's still a little bit different. There's always like faces everyone's I don't on really top see. Of each other and stuff like that. And it is like, it's like kind of sardines. And you can see like people. I think it's intimidating when you see people that are confident in the pub.
That definitely brings me all the way down. Like
you walk in there like looking at you.
Yeah, everyone's going, get a Jaeger, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh dear, like I'm intimidated by your confidence.
Like, this guy's not even drunk. Let's get him wasted.
Yeah. It's like I've got enough time to do that myself. Thank you very much. But
the point for me though, it's more like, mate, I'm 31. You're probably what, 27?
Yeah.
Bugger off.
But like, you know, when it came to like the autism, I rejected it really, really. I suppose probably through my own prejudice as well. I didn't want like a label. I was scared of how my friends would see me, so I never told anyone. I just like obviously my immediate family knew, right? Because like some of them might have been there or whatever, talked to each other about it or whatnot. But I just never entertained it in any way, shape, or form. And I deep down like I knew, but I just didn't want to admit it to myself. I was like, I guess I was not taking responsibility in a sense. Yeah, just because I always used to think that it was, it's people being mean to me at school. That's why I left school. Like it's all everyone else's fault. It's not mine. And I've had to learn through some situations. Like anyone that knows me will know that I've had a really interesting kind of 10 years in relation to my father, right?
Yeah.
And I've joked about it in past episodes and that, but like it's kind of it's not a thing now, which is good. It's been for the better of my own sanity, really, I believe. But so, I'll try and keep it as brief as possible because I don't want to take up the whole episode going on about this. But so basically, I grew up in a single parent household. My dad wasn't around. I had no idea really who he was or whatnot.
We were in the same boat there.
Yeah, there was like a few instances where, because my dad would be in the area and he would leave because he was originally posted here in the forces. Right. But I think he I'm not trying to like speak shit or that because I actually don't feel anything towards him now. But from what I've been told, he was quite a habitual liar, and from my interactions with him, I would agree with that. Just from what I know and what he said to me and stuff like that about some certain things, I'm an elephant I never forget. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to be made to look like I'm made with a finger. But he would say like stuff like, "Oh, I'm away on training exercise," and then he get caught on Asda. Do you know what I mean? So whether he did move back down south or stayed up here, I don't know. But there was a couple of times when I was younger, I remember my mum saying, "Oh, he's in this shop, let's go see him," and stuff. Like, I had literally no idea what was going on at this point. I felt nothing really about it. I was just kind of like going with my mum. I was like 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, I think this is what led to it getting so the other extreme when I did kind of, want to find out who this person was later in life, because I never mentioned it when I was younger. You can like ask like my parents and that, like they brought it up. My parent like asked me about it at times. I never had any kind of feeling towards it, just because it had never been there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it would be consciously enough to say that I was blocking it out or anything at that age, because I don't think I was old enough to have that kind of capacity yet in terms of consciousness. But so when I left school and that, I was in like a bad place, right? And I used to. Another thing I used to be really bad at, don't know if you've ever been the same, when your tunnel vision's like, if I do this, my life will totally change. You're putting all your eggs into one investment basket, and do you know what I mean?
Been there. Yeah,
and it's like I've done that with this situation that I'm speaking about just now. I did it when I was losing weight. I was like, if I lose 200 pounds, which I did in the end, everyone will take me more seriously. I won't get, everyone will respect me a bit better than that. But like, even through the social anxiety, that stuff still happens because I'm not the biggest speaker in that.
Yeah.
And then, I thought I'd just be completely happy by losing all that amount of weight, and that didn't happen. So that sent me into a depression for ages. That kind of, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are yourself as a person. I know it sounds cliche.
No, but you're completely right though.
I do, obviously, so thankful that I fucking did lose that weight and that, because if I'd still been 400 pounds when I got COVID at Christmas, mate, who fucking knows which way that could have went. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly.
But getting back to what I was talking about, so at 15 I was like, I don't know who my dad is, you know what I mean? Like, I want to kind of explore that side of my life. So the only kind of conversation I'd had with my mum was I had to go get 2 DNA tests, done it at one point, and I suppose this is airing out dirty laundry, but fuck it, I don't owe anyone anything on this scenario. So basically, my dad was a child support avoider.
Right, yeah.
There was £23,000 written off towards my mum. My mum had to work 3 jobs. This is not me repeating what my mum said to me or that. I actually got to see these documents and stuff like that from the CSA and all that, for as much use as they are.
Yeah.
So I knew what was going on, right, and I was aware of the situation from a legal standpoint. But I remember my mum took me to go to the doctors a few times when I was younger, and she hadn't really given me a reason. And they do the swab, and obviously you're used to it now with the whole bloody mass test and shit and that's going on at the moment. But they do that, and I was like, why did we do that? And obviously my mum didn't want to tell me the real answer, because I'm still just getting into high school. I've had enough problems already. I don't want to
You don't need to know all these.
Yeah, I don't need to add that baggage to a young person like that. Yeah, exactly. My dad was like an in-out person, so he'd come and see me when I was like 1 or 2, but it would be like at 2 o'clock in the morning, which is obviously not an appropriate time to see like a young child. They're in their bed, aren't they? So my mum actually had deleted his number and moved away to get away from him, and then I didn't even realise that to start with. I didn't know this until years later. And I suppose I kind of thought if I'd ever heard that kind of news that I'd be angry at my mum, but I can totally understand why she did that decision, and I think it was very decisive and brave of someone to do that kind of thing rather than get messed about for
definitely
20 years. Because if that had been the in-out thing throughout 20 years of my life, it would have just made things so much worse, I reckon. But anyway, so I was expecting like a long haul to find this person, because my mum had said she heard he was working in London, because my mum
London's a big place,
worked in pubs and that, and obviously like there were still people up here that knew him from being in the force and that, they were hearsay and whatnot. So I found him within 10 minutes. He was living in Elgin. Yeah, well, so we got in touch and that, and cut a long story short, it was okay for a bit, and then we were just never meeting. You know what I mean? It was like 4 months down the line, we still hadn't like met. So it was quite. Do you know what I mean? And then it just clashed, and that was just how it had remained for 10 years. In the sense of we didn't speak for a number of those years, and then we got back in touch, and then I actually started to see him more regularly and that. And I've got siblings involved in this, right? I've got, allegedly, I know confirmed, 2 older siblings, 2 younger siblings. There's allegedly meant to be a bit more, but that's none of my business. That's
none of my business.
But when I would start going there, like that's when the anxiety would get the most of me and that again, and also on top of the autism as well, in the sense of I didn't realise how sensitive I was to really specific things, because my dad is from Tottenham, which is an area in London, so obviously he has like the whole kind of Cockney twang and that about him.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that was a bad thing or anything. I'm just saying it was strange for me hearing that, because having grown up in a remote area of Scotland, the cultural diversity isn't as frequent as if you were living in a big city, for instance.
Yeah.
So hearing like him and my younger siblings that I eventually got to meet and other people like that was quite intense. I know that sounds really.
Were you looking at them a little bit like, I'm not 100% sure what you're saying to me?
No. I understood them. It was just like strange, because like I'm so used to hearing
Scottish.
Well, yeah, to an extent, right? And obviously like the culture can be a bit different in certain. No, but it can though, right? Like I went round there for Christmas one time, and they were having lamb shank. I'd never had lamb shank before, because it's fucking expensive, mate. Do you know what I mean? And like they all kind of turned around at me like, "You've never had lamb?" I was like, "No," and then they like were bringing up like cranberry sauce and that. I've never had that either, sir. But no, but I'm not trying to make it sound like a class thing or that. It was different, right? I just hadn't experienced those type of things, and it was difficult for me going in there in the sense of I'd never explanced that.
You guys are getting like it all the time.
The rest of the people there had all experienced being around each other constantly. I was kind of
you're the new one,
outlander,
you're the black sheep.
But it, and again, like I talked about the drinking to mask social struggles, and that's exactly what I did there. Now I know I've kind of aired dirty laundry on my dad and that, but here's where I take full fucking responsibility. I acted like a complete fucking dick when I got drunk at those kind of events, mate. I was not a nice person. And I can say that as you know, you don't remember too much when you're in that kind of state, but I do remember clips, and I'm not too proud of myself to not be like, I fucked up there. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, there's people in that situation, like my younger siblings, and that were there that had nothing to do with that. Well, they do have something to do with that situation, but what I mean is, it's none of their fault what happened to lead the situation to where it was.
Yeah.
So for them to feel awkward in that situation from my doing, I feel really bad about, right? And obviously, we don't really speak in that now. And this is not like a, you know, I would apologize to them in person if I've seen them, but it's not like an apology video on here. I'm just being honest with what happened. So the year after, I'd went to Christmas and Boxing Day at my dad's bit, and you know, everyone was there and that again. I was really freaking out, mate, because like I only seen the people that were there alongside him for like maybe once a year. Right. So not a much routine. You can get desensitized to not knowing someone again. You ain't seen them for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember I bought shitloads of drink, mate. I really had it as Christmas presents, and then I ended up drinking a lot of it myself. But I was in this kind of rut of, what am I going to say when I get in the front door? And like, do you know what I mean? I was just so fucking nervous, mate. I so felt like I didn't fit in. Not through any fault of theirs or anything like that, just stuff that was going on in my own. And I got into this mind frame where I was like, for years on end, regardless of me and my dad were talking, I held a really, really unhealthy bitterness towards him, mate.
I know about that as well. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, that's understandable though. Like, yeah, you don't need to excuse that. You have an answer as to why that is. You know, I mean, that's like, in my eyes, that would be deserved, because my dad is my stepdad. You know, like my sperm donor of a father is just a sperm donor. That's all he is. He gets nothing on me. Similar kind of story with you. He fled the country before my mother could take him to court to claim the child maintenance. So it was like, I think
it's crazy how much that happens, mate. It's actually mental how...
What made it worse, though, is my ex-stepmom managed to get him in court for Ben and Stacey, my half-brother and sister, which is great. You know, they are my half-brother and sister. I'm glad that she managed to get him in court and get money. But then the issue came since Sharon told my mum that she had done that. When my mum went to go do it, that's when he buggered off to Alicante. And it also meant that his mum and dad moved around in England, didn't tell me. So I had all these letters coming in and speaking to like me, and I'm like, I can't even write you a letter back. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like, I was just young and like not too sure what was happening. It was horrific, man. It was absolutely horrific.
When I say about my dad's child support thing, I know for a fact that there were other cases that went the same way as my mum's one did. So I'm not trying to paint it as a unique case there. I'm just kind of speaking it from my point of view rather than commenting on anything else that had happened. But so yeah, I went down and I was in the proper mind. I had this bitterness. So if when I was on bad terms with him, I would fucking give him the finger if I see it, because it's a driving instructor. I won't name any names, but I'd give him fuck off. You know what I mean? Like when I seen him in that, because I was bitter, mate. And it started off as like maybe being bitter about how mum had been treated, but it probably developed into like this unhealthy vendetta of, you fucked me over here, haven't you? Like, I'm the only one that's not had like a piece of the pie for it. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's really unhealthy thinking, because
feeling left out.
Vengeance and all this type of shit is something that I mean, I wasn't fucking planning anything extreme. I had a unhealthy attitude towards him whenever I seen him. I was never going to be friendly towards him. And then when we got back speaking, it was okay for a bit, but we still fought like fucking massively, mate. And it was like every 3 months or so, and like it was over really stupid shit as well. Like, he would like say something and then we'd just go fucking back and forth and whatnot. And even when I was on good terms with him, if I seen him and I was out, I'd mutter something under my breath. So that's how fucking deep this kind of went.
Really hate him.
And I don't now, because there was a moment right before lockdown 2 Electric Boogaloo, where we were having a video call, and like this fucking stupid argument shit had started again. And I decided right there and then, because I had 10 years of this on-off bullshit of fucking feeling like this was my fault, or feeling fucking angry, or I'm gonna bring fucking Armageddon down on you, or some shit like that, some kind of mindset like that. I was like, enough of this. Do you know what I mean? Actual enough of this bullshit. I was like, this is not making my life any better. It's only hindering me, right?
It's just you're reliving it constantly.
And then I haven't spoke to him since. I see him about. I feel nothing, mate. And that I actually seen him 2 days after this incident happened. And you know, there's so much stuff I could go into on this, but I'm not going to, just because it's there's no fucking point. I know the truth of that whole situation, so I'm kind of at peace of mind with that. But like, I seen him go past in the car or whatever. I was with chap with a hat, actually. He was going into what is now Budgeons, formerly the Buccaneer, and he went past and nothing, no reaction, no bitterness, no anything said. Obviously I knew who he was, and you know, I actually walked.
Did you feel any relief, maybe?
Yeah, at that moment I was like, because it's over. It's like this, it almost felt like I'd been jailing myself for 10 years with this kind of, you know, but you know, like
that's what I mean though. That's what it would have felt like though.
There's just so much wasted time and energy on a certain scenario, and we've all had that, you know, like in one way or another. But apologies, mate. I feel like
don't worry.
I feel like I've interrupted you throughout.
With my one, it was very, very similar. I mean, I was going to link it back to when you were at school. So when I was at school, when I first came up here, my mother unfortunately was quite ill. So there was not a legal age requirement for you to go to school.
All right, okay.
So
where were you situated at this point? Cyprus?
No, this is when I was much younger. I was 3 years old. I was living in Lossy, in the house I'm in now, funnily enough, on Macduff Street. I went up to Hythe Hill. So I was 3 when I first went to school, and I was going to primary 1, and then I spent some time down in the creche.
Right. Okay. Oh no, we did talk about this briefly on the school days episode.
Yeah, and I'd been asked to draw a photo, or like you draw your mum and dad. It's something that they'd always done, right? And obviously, I didn't know what a dad was, and it wasn't trying to be funny. It was always just me. That's the only memories I'd have. It was only just me and my mum. I was too young to understand. You know, my mum's not going to sit there and be like, "You are born because a man has sex with me," and she wasn't going to tell her very young infant child, you know, about the birds and the bees. So obviously, I'm in school, and they're like, "Oh, draw your mum and dad," and I'm like, "What's a dad?" And essentially, I got in trouble for this. And they had legit, they thought I was trying to be funny.
Oh, right,
and they ended up phoning my mum. And my mum was like, he doesn't know who his dad is.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it's like, he's too young. But basically, my mum turned around and went, how dare you? Yeah, and this is unfortunately, this is what kids were going through at school. And everyone used to believe just what the school teachers used to tell them. That is bull, I'm sorry, but teachers lie. And they lie through the skin of their teeth when they're angry. I've watched it happen. And like,
they're very stressed out.
Powerful
people, aren't they?
They really are.
The power of just being like,
especially when you're in primary school. When you're in primary school, they are literally your executioner, a judge, jury, and executioner.
Do you think that's why like so many young people really disdain for authority in any way, shape, or form these days? Because it seems, I know like the young generation are always quote unquote rebelling against, you know, the elders, if you will. I know that sounds very Game of Thrones-esque, but. You know, now more so than ever, when we've got shit like the policing bill coming through where they're trying to get rid of protest. I'm not trying to make it political or that. Yeah. It seems like we're kind of realised, like, yous are fucking corrupt. You know what I mean? Like, and it's easier to identify from even, like you were saying, in just, like, school. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. From, like, different aspects of life, you can see the corruption coming out nowadays. Yeah. It's like, or you can look back on it and you can see the changes that have been made to make these things better, but at the end of the day, it's still always going to be a teacher's word against a pupil. And 9 times out of 10, the teacher gets believed. Yes, I understand it, because some people's are little terrors, but unfortunately, not all of them are. And even the ones that are, they're not always in the wrong.
No, exactly, yeah.
You know, it's like, it's one of those things, they've just been tarred with that brush. And it happens. But yeah, anyway, totally sidetracked there. So I was getting into trouble because I didn't fully understand what a dad was anyway. And I remember I must have been 6 or 7, and I went to Alton Towers. Now, this was the first time I'd ever met my dad, for me to remember. I actually still have photos of this, of me being in Alton Towers with my half-brother, my half-sister Stacey, sorry. She was still a total wee babber. I remember her crying a lot because she was still teething. And, like, this is how much of an asshole my real father was. My sperm donor father was. He made me laugh when I was drinking a cup of tea. Now, when we're at Alton Towers, I don't know if this was his caravan or this is just an area you stayed within the park. Okay. But we were in like a mobile home style thing. We went in, I sat down, and he made me laugh, so I spat my cup of tea on the floor. It was laminate floor or vinyl floor.
Yeah, so
not an issue.
No, it can be easily mopped up.
whacked on the back of the head to the point like I was greeting my eyes out. And even my stepmom at the time was like, look, because his name's John as well. And she was like, John, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
No need for that. Acting like a child, you can clean that up. And I'm like, you know what I mean? This is one of the first memories I actually have of him. And like people are like, oh, do you hate your dad? When I say to people, I would gut him like a fish.
Yeah.
I don't lie. Like I would go to jail just at the opportunity of being able to literally rip him inside out.
Do you ever think you'll let that go?
No.
Well, you see, mate, like, obviously I can't tell you how to like live your life or anything like that. Like,
I know it can eat you up in the inside. I mean, the benefit I have is
you don't let it affect.
I don't see him. Like he is in a different country, and I will never see him.
You keep it like you don't let it infect, if you will, your own life. Like,
I worry about what would happen if I did ever see him. That's correct. I would really seriously worry about what my actions would be. Because I've spoke to my brother about it as well. Because even he said, he's like, I would love to, because you're right, he is a knob. He's always been a knob. Like, I would love to give him a kick in. And like, when Ben went over there, he actually picked him up from the airport. And in the airport, he said, right, if you want to fucking go, we go now. Otherwise, you're going to follow my rule and sit there and shut up. He made my brother sleep out on the bloody balcony for like, what, a whole weekend? And I'm nuts, like, man. He's just an abusive asshole. He almost, like, I've got so many bad stories about him. It's just unreal.
Thing that I've realised is, from my own situation with my father and that, is one thing that I noticed, one thing that I knew that my dad was telling the absolute truth on, and I knew he wasn't lying to me, was he hated his dad. Yeah. Now, when I looked at it, right, he was talking about his dad treated his mum like shit and stuff, and he was never there enough, and you know, he'd always treated his siblings better than him. And I was kind of looking at it, and I'm like,
that's what you're doing right now.
No, but and then I was like, wait a minute though. With me and him like going at me wasting all this energy, like I knew that like whenever this happened, it would make me feel worse, and I'd probably take it out on other people, regrettably, not like in a physical way or anything, just like, you know, being moody or some shit like that. And I was like, if I keep harvesting this bitterness, this hatred for this person, I'm just gonna keep this cycle going, because there's a lot of stuff that trickles down from your parents, I believe, whether you get on with them or not. And obviously, if you don't get on with them, it's probably going to be more of a negative thing than a positive thing. And this is what was happening to me. It's like, if I don't break this chain, I'm just going to do
what he does.
Do you know what I mean, though? Because I don't even believe that my dad's like a bad person or that. I think that there's some things that he's probably not been able to go through or get to the other side about or whatever. I don't believe that he's a bad-natured person. Has he done some questionable things in terms of fucking people over out of child support and that? 100%. Has he maybe been a bit of a dick at times? Yes, but so have I. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like instantly just put it all on him. But that sticks in my head, that moment when he was telling me that, and he was talking about, he was like, I spat on my dad's grave and everything like that. And do you know what I mean?
That's bad.
But it's like, I don't think that was his fault. I think it was from what he was seeing from his dad, because I can relate to that, because that's how me and him were getting, you know, I was angry at my dad, I was hating my dad, you know, I was having these kind of, this bitterness, and he hadn't let go of his, and his dad isn't, you know, his dad's deceased in that now, but he hadn't let go of that. And I'm like, if I don't let go of this before maybe someone like that, I mean, my dad's not that old, but
you might never get a chance.
No, but you know what I mean, though, that might engrave in me for the rest of my life, and that only affects me bad. So you know, about my dad, I wish him all the best. I hope, you know, I know that he wasn't speaking to one of my older siblings for a while. I believe that's been sorted out. You know, I don't know if that was the truth. One of the last times we spoke, he said that might be the case. So I'm hoping that's all went well for him in that. I've got no interest in like being a part of that again. Or
I've not spoke to my old man since, well, my sperm donor, since I was 15, 16. I do remember. I just can't remember what age I was. And I remember being awkward because I was in Cyprus
over a
at this
decade
point.
ago, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was in the back of the car with my dad, you know, Kev, my dad. And then I've got sperm donor John phoning me, and I'm like, I'm stuck. So I'm like, hiya, and I'm like, okay, I'm stuck because in my head I'm like, I know that you are my sperm donor, you're my dad, but I'm like, the guy who's driving me in the car, he's my dad. I'm like, And basically I just went, "Hiya, John." And he was like, "Oh, is it like that, is it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah."
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not, he was like, "All right, yeah, okay, fair enough," kind of style. And he started off with, "Why didn't you phone me?" And I'm like, "What are you on about?" I'm like, "Don't start this again." I was like, it was your turn to phone me, which is exactly why I've answered the phone right now. "Oh, no, you were supposed to," and I just stopped him right there. I went like, "I'm not being funny." I was like, "Me and you fell out when I was 12 because of this kind of like behavior."
Yeah.
I was like, "I really can't be bothered with it." I was like, "Good riddance, John. Fuck off." Hung up, and my dad was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right, Dad." I was like, "Let's go bowling." Kind of style. And you know what? I was the same. I felt better. But then when I reconnected with my brother, that wasn't. That was relatively recently. That's been within a decade, you know. So within like the last 5 years, I did like kind of reconnect with that side of the family, but only my siblings. So like Ben and Stacy, their brother Joe. He's Sharon and Richie, I think was his name. They had a kid, Joe, and then obviously now Sharon's with a woman, Tracy, lovely woman. I think they're a great couple. But yeah, so like Joe's unfortunately nothing to do with me, but he's my half brother and sister's brother. Yeah. It's I totally get lost with when people want to get
trees
technical,
can go a bit mental, can't they? So yeah,
they're all family essentially. That's the way I look at it. It gets too technical when you want to give everyone a bloody label. It's like that's just their family. They're all brothers and sisters.
How important do you think it is for like when we're going through stuff like this, whatever it may be? Like obviously we've just given an example of one thing it could be, but it can be anything, right? It could be scenarios at work, it could be scenarios with friends, it could be to do with a relationship, it could be to do with maybe a substance problem, anything you can think of. How important do you think it is to like talk to your mates about stuff like this? Like that's something that I've genuinely found.
How important? Well, if you're going to rate it out of 10, it's going to be 100, isn't it, really? Like you if you are not in a place where you can talk about it, then you are clearly, it's wrong, you're super embarrassed about it, or you're very, very scared of the situation you've got yourself in.
You know that you're not feeling great, right?
And if it's any of that, then unfortunately you need to talk to someone. But it's one of those things, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink it. Like it's like you can, there was a meme ages ago, and you know what, I absolutely flaming loved it. And it was basically like, we're going to imagine Mr. Men looking kind of characters, or like, yeah, essentially. And it was just like, one guy's messaging the other one like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And then the other one's just sat there on the floor, and it's just a thinking bubble. It's like, I don't want to really speak with anyone. And then that guy who messaged him saying, "I'll just sit with you." And he did literally just sat with him. And it's like, do you know what? It's like, it's true what they say, misery loves company. But sometimes when you are like myself, anxiety and depression, they really feed off each other. And if I start going down a bit of a wormhole, or if I get triggered, I'm a bit like, very, very difficult to get that thought, because they call class it's like a broken record effect. So it'll be like happy as Larry, butterflies, rainbows, lollipops, and it'll be someone's just called me an asshole, and then it's like, you're an asshole. You're an asshole. Rainbows, butterflies, you're an asshole.
Something so small can affect the thought process.
And it just throws it all off. It's a brand new disc on. You're the asshole disc, and you're just like, like you don't really know how to do it. But I mean, being able to speak to people about it, like it is a must. If you can't open up or feel like you can at least explain how you're feeling, like people don't always have to understand, but to listen, you definitely need someone there to listen. That's why I told you. I mean, the dog I had, God rest his soul, Kano, he really sorted me out. I mean, I had that dog for like 6-7 years. And I was broken on the unfortunate day I lost him, and I was broken for months. I still get sad when I think about him nowadays, but I mean, when I think about where I was agoraphobic. I wouldn't leave my flat. Yeah. I'd like essentially got signed off work. I was signed off work for almost a full year, and it got to the point I was like, I need to work. I need to actually become part of society again. I need to do something, because I was literally just hermiting. That's all I was doing.
And it never makes it any better, that kind of...
Didn't. The behaviour made it so much worse. And I just didn't want to admit it.
Did you ever kind of worry about, when we were in the stay-at-home orders, that might be something that you might slip into again, just from...
Easily.
But then again, I suppose you worked at the first one, didn't you? You were still in retail and that, so I suppose that must have helped you, in a sense,
the only benefit I had. That was the only. Don't get me wrong. It makes you. It made me sour though, because although they're like, yeah, we need you, you're a key worker.
Yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, that's great. Well, why are you coming in here treating me like an asshole, speaking to me like a dickhead? And like, do you realise I'm getting paid like an extra 10p an hour just to be here? Do you think that 10p an hour really equates to anything? No.
Yeah.
And it's like all these people are like, oh yeah, it must be great. At least you can do this. And it's like, well, do you know what? I'd actually really enjoy only coming in 2 hours a day. Like I would really enjoy that. And just get all you people to realize that it's only essential shopping. It's not for you to come out and nip out every 20 minutes to come grab something.
Yeah.
It's like, even you guys are taking the piss to use a board. We don't want to be out. We want to be home. We want to be safe. I don't want to have to worry about going into work and then coming home and making someone ill. I mean, it's not fun, because if that happens, that guilt is on you.
Yeah.
It's like no one else is going to take that guilt from you, is it? And like the way that we would full on be like, that is my fault. Like, that is my fault. I have done this, and it's because I know what I'm like, and it would be. I'd feel horrendous about it.
I think you've hit it on the nail on the head there, mate. And like, obviously, it was a different situation then to what it is now, right? Like, we're not so, obviously we don't want to make anyone ill, and if you have like, when Novak Djokovic was getting all that stick for the Australian
sorry,
thing.
I should have added back then though. Like, we didn't at this point. There wasn't the any of the vaccines.
Yeah,
there was nothing.
Antivirals.
Yeah, there was nothing on the go. It was just pure worry.
Mutated into Omicron and being less severe.
Sorry, I should have made that point a bit clearer.
Like when they were talking about Djokovic and that, and I agree that I don't think you should have to show a vaccine passport to go play tennis, right? But then there was the side of where he had tested positive for COVID and then knowingly went and met groups of people, including children, which that's can't defend, because at the end of the day, I know like kids are less likely to suffer mortality, but you never know. Like there's a,
if one of them's got asthma,
there's a case. I hope they don't actually mind us mentioning this, but there's a case with a little girl in a coma just now from COVID-19 that's from this area, I believe. I believe she's in Edinburgh. So best wishes to her and her family and that God. Just now. What was like? Do you feel like your darkest moment when it came to like stuff like mental health and that, or maybe even mental illness to an extent?
For me, I got sectioned, didn't I? So I mean, I got locked away in a mental hostel in a psychiatric department, for 11 days. Definitely that. Like that was I was in a bad way. I couldn't. I was trying to explain to people. They were like, "What are you thinking about?" And I was like, "Picture a whiteboard." And they were like, "Right." I was like, "There you go."
And that's it.
I was like, legit. And they were like looking at me like, "What?" And I was trying to explain to them. I was like, normally when you're speaking, you can hear what you're going to say just before you say it. I was like, I don't understand how I'm forming words. Like, right. I can't, it's like, I don't know. It was almost like I was just opening my mouth and these words were forming. There was no process needed. I was just like, and I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. It was almost like it wasn't even my body. I just felt like I was an alien. I was like proper on my low. I was crying uncontrollably. I was angry. I didn't do myself any favors with my depression, the way it went. I did try to take a few things into my own hands, shall we say, and it didn't help. I was taking bloody tablets and I shouldn't have been taking them, and I was taking numerous numbers of them, and it was bad. It was really, really bad, to the point I did try to take my own life a few times. Obviously didn't work. Got caught, got stopped. And then when I actually had the last breakdown, that's when I literally got put in a straitjacket at our own doctors, because I went down there and explained to them what was going on. I told them I just fucking hated life, didn't want to be here anymore. I was like, what is the point of me? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I just don't get why I'm here. I was like, I feel like I'm in the bloody Matrix. I'm just a random program that's not actually needed, so just fucking delete me. I was like, that is how I feel. And he was like, whoa, and basically got me. Didn't handle me or anything, but they have to do it. So put me in a jacket, put me in an ambulance, got taken to Ward 4, was put on suicide watch for 48 hours. So I had to shower, pee, poo, shave, brush, whatever, with someone watching me. They had to watch me. So even when I was sleeping and I had like, they're out in the hallway, they've got the curtain open for the glass, and there's basically a spotlight on my face the whole time. Had to deal with that for 48 hours. I was like, it makes you want to behave, unfortunately, and I get it, and it did. It made me behave, and it made me to the point of it gave me that much of a routine. You know, they keep you in a bubble. I also
feel like that certain
it's a false sense of security
taken away from you as well.
No, I loved it. I reveled in it. I absolutely loved my 11 days there, to the point of when they told me they wanted me out, I had a.
Do you think that was like a? I know, like, it's obviously there to support people, and it's
because it was so safe.
Yeah,
it was too safe for you. You don't have to worry about anything.
Do you think that shows how bad of a time you were having because you felt that safe in that environment? Does that make sense?
It does. It basically shows that, because no one wants to enjoy living like a military man.
Yeah, like a surveillance.
When you have no freedom. Like, I couldn't just go out when I wanted to. I had to ask to be signed out, or if someone wasn't available, I couldn't go out for a cigarette. It was strange. It was strange, but I can't deny the fact I loved it, you know. And at the time, I really needed it. I really needed it. And then see, when I came out, it was like what we were speaking about earlier. I had such a lovely time. Why am I so depressed now?
Yeah.
You know, I'm out. I can see my friends and all that. And then I started clicking. The issue is that the friends that I had at the time weren't really friends. They were just like acquaintances or people I'd like kind of like just go see just to go get messed up with, you know.
Didn't have any emotional connection with them.
Yeah, and it got to the point where it was like, it's like, that's sad. And I ended up sitting there, and like a lot of people used to get quite funny with me. Oh, why is it saying we're not friends on Facebook? It's like, well, because we're not actually friends, mate. It's like, what, you're going to get offended now? We haven't spoken in 2 years. Why are you getting offended now? Because you've only just realised I've not been your friend for a year. Do you know what I mean? It does. It's true. It happens, and it's one of those things. It's like, if I don't speak to people, it's one of those things. It's like they just become an acquaintance because there is nothing there. There's no emotional connection. There's nothing in common. You don't really know them anymore.
Yeah, just for the sake of saying that you're friends.
And a friendship is one of these things. It's an important thing to me. So like when people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm your friend," and then they do something,
it can't just be for
it's not just something you just say. To me, it's a big thing.
And that comes a lot about with drinking culture. Like the amount when you start drinking heavily, your social circle just widens and widens, and when you stop doing that, it shrinks.
Because you realise this, because none of them are actually they're just there for the sesh.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it. Yeah. And it's almost like being used for a comedy value. Yeah, at that point, you know?
Or just like comfort in numbers, right? Like, no one wants to be like, because you know when stuff like sessions goes down, there's probably a lot more than just alcohol going down sometimes. Allegedly, from like my experience and you know partaking and whatnot. But you do see, like, I think a lot of people encourage people to be in that environment to make themselves feel better about it.
Yeah,
and no, it's like the same thing. Like I noticed when I quit, like I stopped smoking for like a good 6 or 7 months, in 2016, and a mate of mine had actually quit the year before, and I was like, I felt really betrayed that he'd quit smoking. Do you know what I mean? And I should really be going, oh, you know, that's fucking great for you, mate. But I realised...
Was it because did you feel more social pressure on you?
Maybe, but at the same time, I also think there's that you don't want to be the last person on the sinking ship kind of thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
You want to keep people in it, so like
there's also more pressure on you then to possibly quit. And you're like, I'm not ready for this.
And it's not just like, it's like, oh, I might be doing something that's like poison, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously... being at like pretty wild house parties and stuff like that, and being in that big environment where everyone's there just getting fucked up, and it's not really about having like any kind of interaction of that. It's just like, oh look, there's someone, there's Sebastian, you know, like, do you know what I mean? It's like I'm never gonna see him unless it's New Year's Eve and I'm off my tits on MD 2020. But do you know what I mean though? And I think like that was something that I really struggled with socially when I was like in my teenage years, especially in terms of people come up to you and like you think, oh yeah, you know we're having a really good conversation here, and then you see them in like a normal setting, and they wouldn't say a fucking word to you. You know what I mean? It was only in those, and that really, really fucking freaked me out. Like, so I understand where you're coming from in the sense of it. It's a lot more than just oh, you know, we're mates, you know, fucking we sat at the table at the fucking granary 2 years
had a couple
ago.
of pints. It's like, no, you're someone I know very little of. We
have no contact outside this kind of situation.
It's like, yeah, but that's, some people are like, oh, that's the wrong kind of attitude. And they are right to a way, but it's also, I hate being let down.
Yeah.
So like, it's a trigger. So it's one of these things that, once again, if I know my triggers, there shouldn't be a reason for anyone to have a moan, a gurn, or anything at me for trying to prep for that scenario, because I don't want to have to, like, say, go out with you guys and then all of a sudden say someone let me down last minute and then be totally triggered and not have my way of dealing with it just because someone in this group might feel awkward, because it's going to totally put a downer on my night, and you guys will notice it because I wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
You know, everyone would be like, what's the matter with you? And no one would be able to relax. And it's one of those things, once again, it's like, that's why I'm careful on, I suppose, who is in my friendship circle. Like, I make sure it's people who, it sounds bad, but make sure it's people who understand, be it they're with people or or they have family members who struggle with it, or all that kind of things. You know, as long as I can, like, relate to people, then I feel more comfortable, because it's like, you actually understand where I'm coming from. It's like, I could say something total backwater, out of this world, and you'd be like, oh no, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, like X, Y, and Z to that, and it'd be like, right, sound. You know, we've got the formula. Boom. But yeah, there's other people out there you'd go and say all this to, and they just look at you and they're like, 2 seconds, mate. 999. Yeah, I've got a fucking nutter in my house. You know, and it's like, it does make you. It makes you think twice about expression as well. Because I mean, you've seen me when I talk about certain things, I get very, very passionate, and I may talk about sperm donor and what I would love to do to him. It doesn't mean I've put any thought into this. I ain't buying no plane ticket to go over there. No. You know, like, none of that stuff's happening. But that is my passion on that situation.
In like a metaphorical sense, right?
Essentially, yeah. And I mean, I was also going to say it was strange, because you get my dad, sperm donor father, sorry, and then he had 2 brothers. So you got my Uncle Alan, who sadly died of cancer. Now, he was a lovely man, SAS kind of man. He was a brute, but he was absolutely lovely, and all I remember from him is smiley faces. And you know, when you have a memory of someone like that, and you're like, why couldn't you just been him? You know, why, like, you were brothers. Like, I mean, and then
you ever get like envy of someone that I used to get quite envy of people that I knew that maybe had a good relationship with their dad. That was someone that, like,
definitely. Like, when I used to have a good pal in the town, and when I used to go around his, he had a mum and a dad. So it'd be like, for me, it was cool. I'd always be like up speaking to his dad. And it's not like they would get jealous, but I think they would be like, why do you keep speaking to my dad?
Yeah, why? Yeah, because they kind of take it.
It's new.
Not
it's
consciously,
fresh.
but they take it for granted because they've never had the situation that the other person's been in, vice versa, and all that stuff, you know?
So, like, I mean, my pal would find it strange when I'd be, like, going home and, like, the only person I'd be speaking about is my mum. And, like, playing, like, army dolls with my mum, and, like, setting up, like, strings all around the house and letting them go down, like you know, what you call them, like zip lines and stuff. Like, my mum would do that with me. My mum would full on help me, like, get strings and tie them about the house, and I'd stick my little action men on them and be sliding around.
I never missed out on anything. Exactly,
I never did.
My mum used to help me play Firebird and stuff like that and everything.
Like, she was literally the best PIC ever. It's like, and when your mum was involved, you got away with everything, so it's fine. You know? So it's like, it's never like, I don't know, it was like, my mum done so much for me, but obviously
there is like a unique thing that
when you know it's a male, there is a unique bond to be had with the male that is looking after you, essentially. So that's what I'm like with my dad, Kev. Like, he is my dad. I tell everyone, I'm like, oh, your stepdad, and I don't care who they are. I'm like, he's my dad, and they sit and they go, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm like, well, he's my dad. I was like, we don't play games with this. And my dad will sit there and he'll just look at them and he won't say a word because he's like, he's right. And these people are kind of like, what have I done? What have I done? And it's just because the way I am, because it offends me. It's like, he's my dad. It's like, what was that? You know, it's like, what was that? What did you just say to me? It's like, what are you trying to do? And it is, because it does, you do kind of, like, it's almost like feeling more abandoned as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it was just me and my mum. I didn't know a dad. I was getting in trouble for not knowing what a dad was. And then I met this person who was supposedly my dad, and he was just an asshole, and found out all this bad stuff about him. Then I got a dad, and he was just, we struggled for a little bit, and then it was like I kind of grew up and realized that I am difficult. I get that now. and that you're being difficult, and I understand why. Can we find a middle ground? And we did. And you know what? When we did, happy as Larry, which was great, which is how like a father-son relationship should be. You just need to find a middle ground, and then from there, it's just mutual respect. Nice and easy. But
I think that's what every relationship's built on, right? Whether it's a relationship is like a partner, or a relationship is a friend.
I'm surprised I got one with my dad though, because honestly, he took some amount of abuse from me.
That's just natural though, right? Were you still pretty young when he kind of came into the
well,
picture?
I was very young, but it was mostly my teenage years, and I think
exactly. That's the thing, especially angry. When you have like a really close bond with your mum, right? And obviously, like someone comes into the picture, and we all have that kind of. Okay.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean though?
You do, it's true.
It's natural,
true.
Isn't it? You know, and obviously like
I think it's because I was kind of like trying to alpha.
Yeah.
I think I was going through my alpha stage, so I'm like, I'm the fucking man of the house.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm getting my ass handed to me, and then I started to learn how to fight a little bit, and I think he got a shock as well, you know, because he basically was one of my first opponents for like a proper fisty fight, you know, just all of a sudden, bang, bang, and he's like that. Whoa, like where did that? It all happened to me in Cyprus. Like when I started getting proper angry and like physical was all in Cyprus, and that started because people used to try bully me when I first got there because I had glasses on and I was skinny.
Right, yeah.
And I remember one boy, he was walking behind me and he kept on saying, come on then, John, come on." His name was Simon Chetter. And I remember I turned around, gave Kieran my bag, and I gave him my glasses, and I went, "Come on then." And this boy's face went as red as that couch in seconds, and I watched beads of sweat run off of him. A lot of people
that like kind of insist on that kind of bully mentality, just
they don't actually want to do
expect to be challenged on it, you know. So when someone does, it's like it totally kind of sends them the other way.
It was like my first couple of weeks at the school, so for me it was a big move to do. And in my head, I honestly thought I don't really know these people that well. And in all fairness, he probably could have battered me, but the whole point was I just thought I am sick of being bullied. Like I had it when I was here from fucking certain families in the town. I was just like, I'm sick of this happening to me all the time, and that was it. And ever since then, I just thought, I'm actually quite scary when I want to be. I was like, do you know what? I was like, maybe this will work for my advantage. And yeah, it worked for my advantage for a little while, and then it didn't. And then I got my ass handed to me. And then you realize, actually,
just to be a civil human being is probably good enough.
Yeah, it's like being a civil human being is much better than looking for the next bloody target. It's like, I prefer to have friends than enemies, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. But like I can relate to on the
even if it is only just a few friends, though. Like I'd rather just
quality over quantity. It sounds cliche, but it's true, right?
Definitely, like, you get more out of quality than what you do quantity.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
For sure.
Like I can relate to you as well on the whole, section thing. I was nearly sectioned in 2017. Yet again, this is something that when it happened, I would have never thought that I'd be talking about it in kind of like open sense. I've never really spoke about it to like any of my mates or anything like that. Apart from a few, not like. But anyway, in 2016, I lost a fuckload of weight, mate. So I was on like a lot of. So I kind of took up this diet called keto right now. It's not.
Oh, I know about ketosis.
Not a healthy diet whatsoever, but it was just
your body burns its fat reserves.
Yeah, I needed to do that because the quicker I got away from 400 pound, the better it was. So anyway, I was starting to take like bulk powders and that because I started lifting weights at a period of time.
That's too much for your body to go through at once.
The glutamine, I started taking that as well. Then I'd quit smoking as well, right? So this was all happening. I'd quit smoking. I was working out 3 times a day. I was getting 3 hours sleep a night because what would happen is I would work out at night. So I'd maybe do something like sprints on a treadmill, which, it's still work. It's not the most intense thing in the world. You go intense for a minute and then it's off and then back on again and that. Like, your boy was a bit of a savage after he'd kind of learned that he could do some exercise, you know what I mean? Like, and, I wasn't like fucking, bodybuilder and nothing, nowhere close, but from where I was like, I remember there's a photo on my 20th birthday and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I look so good.
Oh my God, how did I do that?
Yeah. So I was like, because when I first started working out and that, I could barely fucking move after it. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like after half an hour doing squats. Yeah. I just kept that and I kept making better. It wasn't really keto that made me lose the weight. It was just I was making better food choices. Like I wasn't eating shit and down in 10 pints a night. I was fucking drinking water and
eating 5 fruit
eating
and
green vegetables and stuff like that, But I just built in confidence from that. And when you get confidence, you're more inclined to do stuff. So, like, I was working out, I was losing more weight, I was eating better. Then I was like, I'm going to tackle the smoking now. And it wasn't even something that I was like, oh, I'm desperate to quit smoking or whatever at the time. I was just like, you know, I could probably work out a bit harder than that if I do that. You know, smoking probably takes away like maybe 5-10% lung capacity or whatever at a time.
Well, yeah. More. But
then, you know, so I was off the cigarettes for, you know, good 6-7 months, like, and then, you know, I just turned 20, like, and I would get up, I'd work out in the morning, because I'd have a cheat day, right? I'd have a cheat day on a Saturday, and then I would go the 6 days of just constant working out and all that kind of stuff. So get up, I would do, like, there was, like, a good place, it was, I can't remember the name of it now, but they used to do, like, boxing workout videos, and I had a punch bag in here many moons ago before it became
like P90X stuff, is it?
I know, I think it was Dwayne Bowers, I think his name. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was just something to, you know, get moving around and that. It wasn't anything like technical. I wasn't going to become like a professional fighter. I've got no interest in doing that.
Just for like help with fitness.
Yeah. You know, and I had a punch bag, so I was just using the equipment to my advantage, really. And then after a while, that would go on an hour, and then I got a shower, and then I'd sit down, and then I maybe get bored. So I'd be like, right, okay, treadmill, okay, fair enough. Then I'd have a shower. Then it'd be like late at night, right? Because my brain be so active, because obviously I'm eating better things, so I've got more energy. I'm fucking working out, so the brain's getting active from that, and I'm, you know, replenishing well, and all this. I'm not smoking anymore, so there's nothing that's kind of bringing me down in any sense.
Too much though.
I couldn't like face going to bed. I was like, you know, what a time to be alive. Do you know what I mean? Woo! So I was like, let's go bang a bunch of burpees in, or do sprints or something, and then when I would get to bed, like maybe 11-12 at night, my brain be still so fucking active from, you know, working
just
out.
From being active.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't sleep, so I'd, you know, stay up and watch TV or something, and I get sleep, but because my brain was still active, I'd get up 3-4 hours later, and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to work out. No, but this is actually mental. Like, I couldn't believe that I went from one extreme to doing fuck all, drinking like a savage, to doing like everything. And I mean, I wasn't like a fucking athlete or anything, but I came so fucking far from where I was at. Lost 120 pounds in that time, and then I went on to lose more. But just because I was such in the routine of working out and eating well, and then I was getting the bulk powders in, so I put on a bit of muscle all the time, and
because I'd done something very, very similar when I was sectioned. Because obviously after my first 2 days of being on the watch, I started working out, doing the same thing you done. I started working out 3 times a day, but I only done it in my room because I had my own room on the ward. I wasn't put in like a room with multiple.
With other people,
I had my own one. I wasn't allowed to share for obvious reasons. I wasn't classed as safe for others. Like, you know, I wasn't fun to play with, basically. So I was like, right, okay, that's fine. So I'd be doing press-ups, tricep dips, I'd be grabbing chairs, and I'd be doing squats with them, I'd be running up and down the hallway. Like, everyone was, like, looking at me like, you are an absolute monster. What the hell? But I'd done that 3 times a day, and I put on a stone of weight. And it was all because, once again, the same, like, thing you done. The hospital obviously fed me better. Yeah. I was eating 3 meals a day. I hadn't eaten 3 meals a day in about 20, probably about 15 years, you know? Like, I just don't eat 3 meals. I don't even do that now. But when you're in hospital, you do. And, like, even just eating 3 meals a day, although I was thinking, I was like, oh, this is all quite a lot, because I put large for everything. I was like, I'm actually getting a lot of, like, everything I need. A lot of it's healthy. I'm taking brown bread.
Carbohydrates, proteins and all that,
I was like, doing loads of different things. I was trying loads of fruits and all this kind of stuff. And then, 9 days, and I came out a bit like, I was like, and even my mum said to me, she was like, take your top off. So I tensed all up, and she was like, what the hell? And all from down here started I'd never had veins come up on my chest before, and all these, since I'm quite thin, it looked real bad. All these veins just like, boom, 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 all over my chest. I was like, do
you ever remember that South Park episode where they, beefcake?
That was me. That was me. As soon as it came out, and then gave it like a month, and I'd started like skating again. So I mean, if you're going to skateboard, there's very little other exercise you really should be doing, because it's too much. It's just too much.
So when I'd like stopped the cigarettes and everything, it got to maybe about winter, and like, let's just say that I maybe fell into the trap. I'd been out for a night out, right? I hadn't been one for ages. And there was a guy that came in, and he was, you know, what people do when they're smoking. They ask if people smoke and stuff. And there was a few beers, and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go. And then like people were like, what are you doing? All the people that were saying this were like smokers. So I was like, what are you talking about? You smoke? Like, you know, you're complicit in this. So I did, and then I actually didn't have one for like 2-3 weeks after, and then I actually started like buying packs from the shop. And then that came in, but I was still working out and stuff. Because what I'd done is I'd used a vaporizer, funnily enough, and cut down, and then stopped like 3 weeks after I'd stopped the fags, because I didn't want to like be on the vaporizer.
Yeah.
And because some people substitute it rather than actually use it as a quitting agent.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I'm using.
No, I'm not judging you for that, but it's just not what I wanted to do. I wanted to kick the addiction as well as the habit.
Yeah. So my plan is to go on a 0 milligram.
Yeah, well that's what I did. Yeah, so so I was just thinking, I'd been taking all these chemicals and reintroducing them, like, or protein powders and nicotine and all this type of shit. The serotonin is it serotonin that your brain gets from exercise, or endorphins and all that. And then I stopped the exercise in the start of 2017, and then I think because I hadn't been alone with my own thoughts for ages, because I was so fucking like, busy, where's the next workout at? Like, how can I lose the next £100?
You forget to do how to deal with yourself.
I just started feeling really weird, mate. I started, you know, I'm not fucking scared to admit, I started maybe hearing a few voices in my head. I'm probably had an episode of psychosis, right? And I was lying on the couch, and I was just staring at a wall for hours on end. And my mum got really worried about me, understandably, so like took me to A&E, and you know, I was just constantly crying or staring at a wall, mate. I didn't know why, and I think like one of the biggest stigmas I fucking hate about what people get asked when they're having a bad time is like, oh, well, what's the problem? Yeah. Like, some people don't fucking know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't, and you asking them that is going to set someone off.
Because it's a very, you know, you're a bad person, you know, it's that kind of interrogation technique in a way. But so I remember I was there, and there was like a nurse, and they got a doctor, and they were it's all a bit of a blur, but I just remember him mentioning the ward. So I think he had asked me if I wanted to be admitted to the ward, but I just heard ward and was like, no, that is off the fucking tape. Like, getting really kind of
not happening.
Yeah, just getting really kind of irate. Would that be the right word for it? Uptight about it and all that. And then it got to the point I was literally begging this doctor, please do not take my freedom right now. You know, I want to go home. I don't understand what's happening to me right now. I feel really shit, but I don't think this is going to benefit me in any way, because I'd actually been up at the ward to see someone that had, you know, been in there previously, and you know, I wasn't a big fan of how people were being treated in there. Not in the sense of there's anything inhumane going on in there. It was a bit blunt, and I thought,
yeah, there is. The one thing people forget is that there are some people in there that, because if they say no, there's not much they can do. So like, they do things so bluntly to make them think that it's a demand. It's not. They'll be like, they'll just say, you have to take this. Yeah. But it's the way they're saying it. They're being like, I have to take it. And it's like, well, you don't actually. It's advised you do. But yeah, so it's take this. And they're like, oh, okay. But it's just to kind of like force them to take the medication that is prescribed for them. Because otherwise, you're going up to someone who could be like a possible, say, schizophrenic. Oh, would you mind taking? I don't want to take this. Yeah. Then you're in an issue. You know, it's like, oh no.
So I just knew that wasn't the right environment for me. And you know, I've had a few of those episodes, mate. Not to as extreme as that, but what it was constant feeling like a bad person and feeling like, oh, you know, I'm such a piece of shit and that, and like I couldn't get that out of my head. Yeah. And it was affecting me in every way, which way, shape, or form. Like, they put me on this anxiety medication, and it was just relentless. It was like 24 hours feels very quick. It doesn't, like you're having to conquer adversity in some way or form. And that was just constantly running through my head over and over. And I was just like, I'll do anything to make this fucking stop. This lasted for about 2 weeks the first time, and then it just went away. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just withdrawal symptoms from all the stuff I was taking, because I'm sure to fuck with the amount of stuff with extra bulk powders, shenanigans. There's going to be something in there.
Might have been too much protein.
Yeah, might have even been that. But I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I went through 2017, the rest of it fine until winter came. I don't know about winter what triggered, but something similar happened again. And then I got over that. And then it went a year this time. And then it came to winter 2018 and it came back again. And then I just had to suffer through it for another 2 weeks. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't let it get the better of you.
You ever thought it might be something like sad?
Maybe, but it was really intense, mate. And then the last time that it hasn't happened for 3 years now. The last time it happened was spring 2019. But, you know, I'd been some occasions when I was talking about just, you know, finish this off for the last 5 minutes. You know, go back to the autism for a minute. You know, there's, you know, the documentary I'm doing is going to be on pretty much the lack of support services and lack of support networks in this particular area. For people on the spectrum.
Oh yeah, unless you're a paying business, you ain't going to get no support.
Yeah, like, I used to think that a lot of the shit that happened to me throughout school, you know, employability programs when I was leaving school, stuff like that, the way people were saying, oh, you've got a bad attitude and all this kind of stuff, I thought that was just self-infliction from me. And from what school were saying, they were calling me like a manipulator and all that kind of stuff. I just believed all that. I just thought, you know, maybe I was just...
That's just the way I am.
Yeah, maybe just the way I am. But now... having now an adult life and that and gone through experiences and you know, when I hear other parents say that their kids are going through like really bad struggles and the system isn't really helping them out in any way, you know, they maybe get support as kids but it's not the right support, and when it's the adult stage of their life, all that support is finitoed. So here we go again, another revelation. I had a support worker from Cornerstone Community Care for about a 9-month period, because I was going out with mates and stuff like that, right? So I think the aspect of going out and doing something wasn't necessarily a problem at the time.
Yeah,
it was just I was in a bad place, mate, in the sense of I didn't think there was any kind of... I'd read up on what my condition was and I was trying to learn about myself and that, but I didn't feel like I was around an environment that
was going to be supporting enough.
Well, no, my friends knew and stuff like that, but it was like I never spoke about it really. And I was like, what am I going to fucking do with my life at the time? You know, this is a number of years ago now, and so that support worker is actually Lee, who actually helps with the podcast sometimes. Right. I always find it funny because I remember when like they were saying, okay, so it's going to be this guy, and that I was half expecting. Have you ever watched the film Role Models? Mm-hmm. You know, the ginger guy was like, if I had $1 for every time I played a game of Pac-Man, I thought it was going to be someone like that, but you know, Lee wasn't like that. He was like really sound. We had a lot of the same interests and stuff like that. So like there's been some fucking great people in my life that have helped me get out of some bad situations, like Lee just being one example. And, you know, I remember a social worker saying to me, because they wanted to kind of keep up to date with how I was doing, because, you know, they kind of do that when stuff like this happens. I remember they were saying, you know, we could maybe get you, because like you had to pay for the support work. It's like we could get you a free one at the council. Because, you know, as much as you and Lee get on, you've got to remember, like, Lee's in a job, right? Which I find fucking hilarious now, because I consider, like, Lee one of a really, really good friend, and he doesn't work in that role anymore. He moved on because he was having a child, so he needed a better paying line of work, obviously, which is probably something else that I'll bring up in the documentary in terms of the people that actually work in the sector not getting paid enough to stay, and then because I remember when he left, I was like really gutted about it, mate, because
good ones always leave.
I nothing against him, because I totally understand why he needed to do that.
So it doesn't mean we're not going to be sad about it.
But you know, obviously I've stayed in contact with him, and you know, I was talking about the time, because I've got a big interest in like combat sports and the people that are in that, and we've got quite a big kind of scene locally up here about that, and he knows a lot of the guys that have came on or are coming on, and they've just got involved in that, and so there is some great fucking people out there, do you know what I mean? Like, do not be afraid to fucking seek help. I know it's in this area especially, it can kind of be a bit scraping the barrel to get, but there will be a genuine person out there, do you know what I mean? Or genuine people. But I think to like round it up on, we've went through quite a lot
Well,
today.
yeah, we have. I mean, it's one of those things, though, isn't it? I mean, we could carry on going, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I don't think this should be the last one that we do on this subject.
Definitely not.
So
this is just like a little bit more. I think this is a bit more delve into each other's past, really.
Yeah,
isn't it? His little look as to how we deal with things, and how we've got to where we are, and the crap that we've went through. It's not all of it. It's just
my hope from this kind of conversation is obviously, you know, we're good mates, so like it's important for us to talk to each other about stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I hope that if there's anyone listening that's having maybe a bad time at this period of time or whatnot, I hope this, I'm trying to find the words, like, gives some sort of comfort that, you know, that we
people
all
out there do care.
Yeah, but we do care, that we want to have these conversations. It's been fucking difficult for us all the last couple of years, especially. I know that, like, a lot of the shit that's went down, people have found really hard, including myself in some of those aspects. But another thing I'd just like to say before we go is that if anyone is watching this and maybe doesn't feel like they have anyone to speak to on it, like, reach out to us. Yeah, my inbox and on Facebook, Ryan Hutchin, always open. Like, feel free. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this person was in touch in the next episode. I'm, you know.
Well, I mean, you could even message us on the Messenger.
Yeah, Northeast Corner Facebook
me
page.
And Ryan are both.
We're both admins on there, so feel free to fucking.
And it's not something that's obviously it would be your data would be secure. It wouldn't be shared.
Yeah,
no. Literally, if you just want, if it's basically just if you need someone to chat to and you feel like there's no one else out there, we may not be available all hours of the night, but we will certainly reply to you at some point. Yeah.
so if you don't feel like you
have to hide away.
Yeah. If you want to talk to some random strangers that make absolute goofs of themselves on the internet, and,
feel free.
You know, well, we're not struggling anymore because that £200 million contract from Scott. But no, I'm joking.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. But you know, like, we like to have a laugh on here and that. But we thought it would be, you know, I think we've had a laugh here and there, but like serious as well.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do offer a good support group for those who do need a laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah. Even if it is mostly blunders. But it's a pleasure as always, my friend.
Yeah, I know it's been good. It has been good.
These just fly by now, don't they? It's not.
It was nice. It was nice to actually continue. Like I said, I spent most of the day having a little siesta.
Yeah.
I kind of just opened my eyes, looked at my phone, and seen Ryan. I thought, I need to get up and on the go.
Yeah, let's get well, the last Sunday one we did was actually the shortages one where you came in with the ragingest of hangovers. And that you kind of got me back, though, because the Spanish flu one the week before, I came in with a really bad hangover. So,
yeah, when I'm hungover, though, it's a bit more like just, oh, no. I can't think properly. I really do struggle. I think it's my thought process especially, but I think it doesn't help with the anxiety. And if I get too riled up about what we're talking about or I get too passionate, I really am bad for losing focus halfway through. And I'm like, what was I saying? Yeah. Where was it going with that?
I'm just trying to think of what next week. Oh, well, no, actually, it'll be 2 weeks in a row. So we could have a break next weekend, or we could still do one, depending on what you're working.
Well, next week, I'm working. Well, I've got Thursday, Friday, and Sunday off.
Okay, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So next Sunday, me, you, and Jamie could do some sort of topic. We could figure something out.
Definitely.
We'll go on the old secret podcast layer chat.
That's it. That's it.
Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this whole talk that we've had, and that offer that not offer that. What what we were saying is open to anyone that feels that they need to speak to someone. So feel free. So,
or even pop by Scott Vapes.
Yeah, help us out.
I'll be there
because we fucking need it. That's for sure.
You know, we like to support local businesses as well.
We need another heater for next year.
Yeah, take care from me, from the NEC. Peace.
Ciao for now. Oh, you forgot it.
Bugger.
Too late.